Well, Adrienne and I go way back.
Yes, way back.
I had taken a couple of student teachers, and Miss Beck, who was chair of the English department then, said, I've got another student teacher. And I said, no, I'm tired, I'm not doing it. And Beck was a smart little cookie. She walked Adrienne over, she sat down, and she went, this is Adrienne. And Adrienne went, and I went, I love her. I love her. And I said, you will be my student teacher. And there it was. Today, it is freshman, sophomore, junior, senior day, because our guest speaker is all about you. But before we begin, I need to thank a few people. Certainly our superintendent, Ms. Barkman, our principal, Ms. Overbaugh, Mr. Hernandez, Ms. Stories, Ms. Greco, Jean Greco, and everyone who had anything and everything to do with this, especially our Catskill Education Foundation, who brought our guest speaker all the way from St. Louis, Missouri, to speak to you today. But our guest speaker is no stranger to this area. She, just a few years ago, worked with me in room 246 as my co-teacher. She also taught at Hudson for 17 years. And at this point, I want to welcome, hold it, not yet, a consummate educator, one of my most esteemed colleagues, and my true friend, Adrienne Ross.
Grateful for that introduction. I'm grateful for being here this morning, and I also want to start by saying thank you to the superintendent, Mrs. Barkman, Principal Overbaugh, the Catskill Education Foundation. Also, thank you to everyone who has had a part in bringing me here this morning. Thank you also for being here. I realize that this is really early in the morning, but I guess this is regular time for you guys to start school. But as Mr. Farrar said, I am from, now I live in Missouri, and I got here, I flew in on Friday, and it's cold up in here. It's cold, and I'm thinking, so my voice is just a little bit, it's a little bit shaky because I'm dealing with this throat thing. It's like, get off the plane, and I'm like, it's freezing, it's cold, it's rainy, and it was like 70 something in Missouri, so I'm adjusting, but I'm so grateful to be here, and I will try my best for those others who are cold to fire you up this morning, because that's why we're here. And I'm excited. As Ms. Farrar said, I was here, she said it a while ago. It was more like 21 years ago. I know I look too young to have been doing that 21 years ago. And then this is silence. I knew the silence was coming because I have to tell you this. There was a time when I would say that I started out in this thing 21 years ago, when people would look at me and go, no way. You look too young for that. Nobody says that anymore. So then I know that I'm in trouble. I go to a graduation on Saturday, and as I'm at the graduation, someone asks me, some random guy says to me, so are you here for your daughter's graduation? And I thought, all illusion that I was looking young is all gone now. I am totally humbled. And I thought, no, I'm not here for my daughter, but it certainly was a reality check. But it's been a long time, and I left here after a wonderful experience with Ms. Farrar. How many of you have had the pleasure of having Ms. Farrar as a teacher? All right, can you give her a hand? Yes, and I'm so grateful that she wanted me to be here. But I had that honor of working with her and learning from the best. And then I moved on to Catskill, not from Catskill, I wanted to be here at the time, but Hudson snatched me up, and I spent over 17 years teaching English language arts in the 7th grade in Hudson, and until about 2.5 years ago. And I did move to Missouri and started on a whole different journey. I'm just telling you a little bit about myself because I know you're going, well, who are you and why should we care? Well, you'll hopefully find out. But so I moved on, and now I'm doing some different things, left teaching, a career that I was very passionate about, young people I'm very passionate about, and now I'm doing editing, and I'm doing some writing. In fact, I'm just about to publish my first book. I'm excited about that, and doing this, what I'm doing right now. And I'm here with you this morning, so thank you for allowing me this opportunity. And so today's topic is a very important one. And she said you guys are already on fire because you had an assembly or something 2 weeks ago, and you're ready to go into final exams. Summertime is coming, and all I want to do is drop a few seeds that are very, very important. And so I'm going to talk about a topic that I believe is essential as I look out at you. And I may not know you by name. I am Adrienne Ross. You may not have known me by name unless Ms. Farrar mentioned something. But I already feel connected to you. Because in a room this size with as many people as I see, I know there's a wide range of experiences. And there's a wide range of things that people have gone through. And there certainly is a wide range of things you will go through. And I understand that though sometimes we come in and we're smiling, we've got some real issues going on. And some of them have been thrust upon us, and we have no choice. And some of them we have thrown ourselves into. So the topic I want to talk about today is identity. I want to talk about identity. Ain't that deep? Isn't that pretty? And it's such a valuable topic, and it's interesting because whenever we say identity, we think that's, okay, who are you? That's your identity. Who am I? And if I were to go to someone random and I were to say, who are you? Generally, the first thing that you hear, well, I'm Susie. Who are you? What's your identity? I'm John. I'm Shaniqua. Whatever. Okay? I don't want to leave anybody out, okay? But that's what we associate with identity. We associate that with our name. And as a teacher, I remember we would start the year with a unit on identity. And I would say, okay, so who are you? What's your identity? Well, it's my name. And here's my thought. Your name is so vital to who you are. We're very, very protective of our names. And if you don't think so, let somebody spell it wrong. That's not how you spell my name. Especially when you're on Facebook and they're looking at your name and they still can't spell it right. So your name is important. But I have said to students in the past, I've said now, okay, I talk about your identity, you give me your name. Let's just think about it. What if you had a different name? Any name, think about it. The question still remains, who are you? Is it just your name? Is that all you are? So let's talk about identity, and let's talk about how to lock into our identity, or unlock our identity. And me, I am a person, I'm fascinated by the concept of purpose, of what am I here for, or why am I here? And I look at identity as important because identity equals purpose. And I learned that even at young ages, after teaching for over 17 years, 7th graders, I've learned that even at that age, you guys are a little older, high schoolers, but even those that are going to be coming in later that I'm talking to, they're already thinking at 11, at 12, at 13. I know because I've asked. I know because I've had these conversations. I'll say, how many of you have ever thought, what is my purpose in life? And I'm amazed at how many hands go up that even at 12 and 13 and 14 and 17, which seems so young in the big scheme of things, people are already saying, what is my purpose? Why am I here? And it's not too young to begin to think about that. What was I created for? Who am I? And in a room like this, I know. I can't tell you. I know that, like I said, a wide range of people. And I can't say, well, your purpose is you're going to be a doctor. Your purpose is you're going to be an amazing mom and you're going to raise your babies, or you're going to be a lawyer. I don't know that, but I do know that your identity is that you have been designed for success. You have been designed and created for greatness. And greatness to one may not look like greatness to another, but your purpose is what you need to fulfill. That's your identity. It's about success. And whenever you have this many people in one room, I know, and no matter what it looks like or what it sounds like, I know that there are people who may not necessarily believe for greatness because that's not their experience necessarily. While you might see people who are making a mark, you're like, you see musicians and you see movie stars and you see athletes and you see whomever, and you're thinking, that's a person who's achieved success. I wish I could be like that. I wish I could I want to make a difference. And yet everywhere you look around you, you may not see that in your own personal life. That may not be the case. You might have been told you'll never amount to anything. And I know that people have, because I've had students say that they have been told at times, you will never be anything. Your daddy was nothing, your mama was nothing, and you're not going to be anything. You're a total mess up. And so though you want to achieve great success because you have dreams, at times you just don't see anything to relate to. Maybe your brother's in trouble with the law, or maybe your dad is not there in the house. Maybe you're going through all kinds of stuff, and so you don't really understand, how am I supposed to believe for greatness when this is all I see? And I also know that there are people in the room like this that it's the total opposite for you, perhaps. You know that you're loved. You see examples of greatness. And yet you still struggle with your own identity because you're trying to figure out, well, where do I fit in that? Maybe your older sister is just beautiful and everybody thinks she's so gorgeous, and you feel like maybe you don't measure up there. She's got the guys like her and you kind of feel left out. Or, your brother's the smart guy. He gets all the good grades, and you're just barely trying to figure out how you're going to get through finals. Family's great. You know that you're loved, but you're still trying to figure out, where's my place? Where do I fit? And so I'm here to tell you that you do have a place, and it is important, and you are valuable. And a lot of times when you're dealing with that, nobody knows. And for those of you who say, you know what, I don't come from a bad family, I don't come from a great family, I haven't had any issues, you know what, just hang on. Just keep living, because every single person will go through something. And the problem is we're not prepared for it, because we don't talk about the real issues. Because we come to assemblies like this and we want to kind of look cool, so we kind of giggle with our friends because we don't know how to deal with people who are getting real with us and wanting to get down where the rubber meets the road. So I can see through all that to the heart. And that's what it is. It's about the heart. And nobody may have a clue what you're dealing with. And frankly, it ain't everybody's business. But you know. And so my desire, really my heart, I didn't come 19 hours just because, I love Miss Farrar, but I didn't come 19 hours just to see Miss Farrar, or to come back to Catskill, or to freeze, which is what I've been doing since I've been here. But I came because I care. And there are people who care. And this is a serious time we're living in. And this nation in particular needs young people who grow up knowing they have a purpose, because when they don't, they live like it. And it ain't pretty. Excuse my bad English. I was an English teacher, but I told you I left 2.5 years ago, So I want to deposit a little bit into you. And I'm going to show you just a few pictures just to share a little bit of my story. And the girl on the left, and anyone, she's so cute. That was me on one Easter. That's my Aunt Mary in the middle. That's a picture of a picture there. That's my hand, sorry. And that's my sister on the other side. And, my Aunt Mary, when I was born, in the middle, this is the story I've been told for so long. She said to my mother, she said, name her Adrienne, because she's going to be a school teacher. I have no idea what being named Adrienne and a school teacher have anything to do with each other, but it made perfect sense, so I married her. And my Mary passed away in 2012. And so I never asked her that question. I just remember as I got older hearing that story. You tell my mother, name her Adrienne, she's going to be a school teacher. Okay. And that was something I ain't want nothing to do with, okay? And you guys can relate because you know how you are. You wouldn't want to teach you either, some of you. But I didn't want, at a young age, my mom was going to college, my other aunt, and I'm proofreading her papers and all that stuff. And she was like, you're going to be an English teacher. I'm like, I'm going to be an actress. Well, at first I wanted to be a crossing guard, but then she said, no, okay. I said, I'm going to be an actress for most of my life. I wanted to be, she's going to be a teacher. And I ran from it, but that was what she said. And that sounds wonderful. Wow, she believed in me. And she spoke that for some reason. Well, it didn't always go like that. Here I am at another time. That's me. Graduating from nursery. And you can tell that was old because look at the background. But you would have thought, you wouldn't think that this was the one where somebody had said she's going to be a school teacher, because my story didn't start out that way. I was growing up, my sister and I, in the Bronx, in the projects, okay? And it wasn't all wonderful. My mom, I always hesitate to tell this story because I know that it would be a difficult one for my mom to hear. And you guys have your own stories. But my mom was young. My sister and I are in the projects in the Bronx, ninth floor, 9F. I still remember that apartment. And my mom would she'd leave, and she'd be doing her thing wherever she was. And my sister and I'm like 3, 4 years old. I only lived in the Bronx till I was 8. So you have to imagine, anybody have brothers or sisters that are like 4, 5, 6? Cousins, nieces, nephews, whatever. So imagine that how much you love them and how small they are, how much they need protecting. Well, I'm like 4 or 5. My sister's only 22 months older. So she's, if I'm 4, she's about 6. I'm 5, she said. So I'm young, and my mother would go, and she would not come back at times for days. I remember, I can still see me there. And there wouldn't be food in the house. And I remember eating ketchup sandwiches, because there'd be a piece of bread and we put ketchup on that thing and try to eat, and we were hungry. Or there was peanut butter, and I remember taking that spoon and just eating the peanut butter and knocking on neighbor's door in that apartment saying, do you have a piece of bread? Do you have any ketchup? And I also remember saying to my sister, what's up with mommy? Surely she knows we're here by ourselves. And my mom regrets that, and if she could go back and change it, she would. And I've developed a relationship with her over time. But at that time, as 5 or whatever, I'm trying to figure out, how am I supposed to believe for greatness? I'm just trying to get a meal. I'm trying to figure out why my mom's not here. And I go to the window, and I can still see it. I'm saying it's so embedded into me. I can still see it going to the window on the 9th floor and looking out, because you could look down the hill where the buses would pass. And I knew that if she were coming home, she would be getting off one of those buses and she would be walking up that hill. And so I'd just stand there by that window and look out in hopes that my mother would be coming. Because I loved my mom and I needed my mom. And I was hungry. And so often, she wasn't coming. And when those things happen, it creates this insecurity in you, because as much as you try not to think it's about you, well, maybe I'm not worth it. Or, why, you just don't understand that. But at 8 years old, my aunt Mary that I showed you in the last one, and my uncle Dave came and they got us, and we moved to Long Island, and we had the beautiful home with the white picket fence and the 2 dogs in the yard and birds and fish and stuff like that. And so things got better, but I still had this hole in my heart because I wanted my mom. And some of you are in the same boat. I don't know what your family situation is, but I know some of you in the same boat. I just want my mom, or I just want to see my dad, or why does my dad hang out with his other kids but not me, or whatever the case may be. But there was that hole and that insecurity. But I want to go back to that. Because even though she said, name her Adrienne because she's going to be a school teacher, my experience didn't seem to line up to that identity. That hungry, insecure, hurting child looking out the window for her mom. Yeah, she's going to be a teacher. But what Mama Mary did when I was born, really, she set my identity. That in spite of my circumstances, and in spite of what it looked like, and in spite of it, what anybody would have thought, she spoke life into me. And that was my true identity in spite of what it looked like. In spite of what it looked like. And you know, when she said, she's going to be a teacher, it's not so much about being a teacher. What she was saying was she's going to be successful. She's going to go farther. Because Mama Mary, she could barely read. She could barely write. Because she barely got to have an education. She was down south and taking care of her siblings. She could barely do that. But when she looked at me, she said, no, this one is going to go farther than I ever went. And I'm going to invest myself into her to make her her best self. Even if I couldn't get there, she's going to get there. That will be her identity. And that's what I'm decreeing over you this morning, that no matter whatever it is you're dealing with, no matter whatever it is you're going through or will go through, there is greatness within you. And it may not look like what I do, and it may not look like what your friend does, but if it's what you were designed to do, that's what matters. And that's what we need to embrace. And that's why I'm here. And I say that this is important because until you know who you are, you really can't fulfill your purpose. Until you know that you were designed for success. That you are not necessarily the situation that you're living in or that you've gone through, but that there's so much more. You cannot fulfill your purpose. You might bump into it here or there. You might fall into something. But I'm talking about owning it. And for some of you, this is the deal. This is why this is really serious for me. Because for some of you, if you don't get this message, it's life or death. This is a life or death message. And I say that because I see young people, they're depressed. Many of them, they go through something. He didn't like me, he broke up with me, or my dad's mad at me, or I had a fight with my best friend, or whatever, or I don't have the clothes that my friend has, or I wish I could go to this college, or I failed my final exam, or whatever, that teacher just mean and evil and full of the devil, or whatever. And I know I'm not talking about any teacher in here, but there's some way out in another place, another state, that are full of the devil. Not here. That don't go on here in Catskill. Don't name anybody, please. It won't invite me back. But, anyway, sorry. So, this is life or death. I had a student a couple years ago in Hudson, and she had as we say, she had a stank attitude. I mean, it was stank. But when she came in my class, I said, they're gonna love me whether they want to or not. I just can't help it, can't you tell? But we connected, and she would just be having this crazy attitude. But with me, somehow I was able to get past that. And she would give me this beautiful smile. Well, about a year or so ago, after I had moved to Missouri, I got a message. She had committed suicide. And it ripped my heart out. And my thought obviously was heartbreak for her situation. My thought was also, I could connect with her. If I had not left, if I were still there, I could have made a difference because I could get her to smile. And my other thought was, what could have been so bad that she's gone? That's why I say this is life or death. Because had she known her true identity, if she knew that it's more than this moment, it's more than this circumstance, it's more than this right now, whatever I'm going through, that there's hope, that I'm created for greatness. Did nobody tell her that, is what I'm thinking? If there's a plan, and it's plan A, how did she not get that message? And that's why I say it's life or death, because had she gotten that message, she'd still be here. And she's not. And that's why I came 19 hours. Because some of us suffer. I've been here. I came last year. I came here before. I've had students tell me how important it is to hear these positive messages because they've got friends cutting themselves and feeling depressed and they're looking for hope. And they need to know that it's within them. It's within the realm of possibility. My Aunt Mary spoke that life into me, and I'm glad that she did because it'd be a whole different story. That's for sure. Now, Mark Twain, ever heard of Mark Twain? Writer Mark Twain, he said, the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. The day you're born and the day you find out why are the two most important. And most of us, we know we're born because they tell us your birthday, right? We tell everybody our birthday too because we want presents and stuff. So you make sure they know that. But the day you find out why. And again, I'm not saying, well, you're going to be a teacher or you're going to be a doctor. I mean, that's all, you can figure that all out, okay? But I'm talking about I was here to make a difference. I was here to leave a mark. I'm not just passing through time. I'm not just going through the motions. Those are the two most important days. And so if that day has not come for you, consider it today. May 16th, right? Okay, I'd be wrong if I said it. May 16th, 2016 is the day you find out why. And why is that? Check out this. I want to give you a moment to look at that, and then I'll step back up, give you a chance to see this. Digest that. Can you see? Everybody checking that out? Do you notice anything wrong there? If that looks right to you, we need help. We need some help. Here in this comic strip, there she is. She's taking aim. She runs to see where it lands. She grabs the paint, and then she makes the bullseye.
She's smart for that.
She's smart. She can't go wrong, right? Okay? But is that the way it's supposed to work? No. It's not supposed to work that way. You're supposed to have your target already. You're supposed to have your goal already. You're supposed to be shooting for something already. And then you can measure and you can see, am I there? Am I not? Where do I need to go? Do I need to go to the left? Do I need to go right? Do I need to go forward? What do I need to do? But when we don't know our identity, when we don't know that we were destined for greatness, we live like this. We just, wherever I end up is this is where I plan to be. This is where I want to be. Because you were too afraid or nobody set your eyes toward a goal, and so you can't measure that goal. So this is just the way it is, and this is the way I wanted it to be. No, we're not going to live haphazardly. That's not your design. You set a goal, you understand that you have value, and you're going to reach for that goal, and then you can measure it, and you can tweak it if you need to tweak it. We need to stop living like this. We got too much of this going on, which is why in many instances we're just a complete mess. But we don't have to be. So I'm here to share with you some keys to unlocking your identity, being who you really are. And I believe it's already in you, but it's got to be sort of unearthed. You can have $1 million in the bank, but if you don't know that you have it, you'll never use it. You can get, I'm going to know I have it because I'm going to use it. I need it. But many of us, you don't know the richness that's within you. Some of you have never been told, and others of you just won't listen. So, we're going to talk about unlocking. And I basically, if you want to see why I'm here to, you ever ride in the car with somebody, and they talk to you, and you're driving, and they're like, oh, look at that, and the whole car goes over there? Or you're in the back seat, and they're like, how you doing today? You're like, fine, because just look, but we go in the direction we're looking. So I'm here to turn your head. Once a month I go to the chiropractor and he gives me an adjustment, and I can't stand it because I can't stand the sound, but he grabs my neck and he can crunch, you just hear it. But when he does that, it gives me a little bit more mobility so that he'll say, how far can you go? And I go here. And after that crunch, and I'm just like, Lord, please don't let my spine crack. I mean, I get nervous every time. I remind myself he knows what he's doing, because if my neck falls over after that, I'm gonna be dangerous, but so he would do that, and all of a sudden I can see a little further. So this is what I'm here to do. I want to turn your neck just a little bit. I want to turn your eyes just a little bit so that you can see a little bit farther. So, keys to walking or unlocking your identity and walking in your identity. I'm going to give you a few things. The first thing I want to talk to you about, the first key is mastering your emotions. If you're going to live out that greatness that is within you, you have got to, and I'm talking to high schoolers, and y'all an emotional mess. You know it. I saw it first thing this morning, already upset. I'm like, it's 7 o'clock and they ruined your day already? He come in the first period, she messed up my day. I'm like, man. But it happens. Sometimes it happens before you leave the house. Because it's not what's outside the house, it's what you're going through in the house. And you get to school and somebody didn't speak. You didn't know she had laryngitis, but she mad and she didn't speak. And our day's already now, our emotions are all over, and we tell somebody off, you tell that teacher off, I didn't study because I didn't feel like studying, and all that. We live by our emotions. And our emotions lie. And they tell us that we're not valuable, and they tell us that we're not important, and they tell us what difference does it make anyway. They lie. They're like people. So you have to master your emotions. Here's my friend's daughter when she was young. Her name is Cherie. And underneath that picture of Cherie says, Mommy, I can't want to. I can't feel like it, emotions. And when Mommy would say to Cherie, her mother would say, Cherie, or her father, but generally Mom is the one doing that, clean your room, eat your vegetables, whatever. Cherie would go, but Mommy, I can't want to. I can't want to, Mommy. I don't feel like it. It's like I would like to want to, but I just can't. I can't want to. And we go, and it doesn't stop when you're adults. You look at that bill on the table, and you're just like, I can't want to. You look at the things you have to do. Your parents sometimes feel like that. Go to work. I can't want to. You guys have a final exams coming up. You got to study. I can't want to. You guys got to put forth a little effort because you're looking at college and you're thinking about your future. I can't want to. You have to master. Because if we only do the things we want to do, Ms. Ferrari, you know it's true. If we only did what we wanted to do, not much would get done. Because there are many things we just don't want to do. But that's maturity. And I'm calling you into your maturity this morning. And you go beyond your emotions if you're going to walk out the greatness that is your identity. Mommy, I can't want to. Here's Cherie now. I just thought I'd bring that because she grew up now. She's about to go off to college, so she learned to do the things that she couldn't want to. And now she's accepted in college and she's going forward. And she still has those moments, I'm sure, where she can't want to. They'll last a lifetime. But if she's going to live out, walk out her true identity, she's going to have to get beyond those things. And you have to reject the lies because they're full of them. Your emotions are full of lies. Life is full of lies. You're not valuable. You can't. You're no good. Nobody cares. You were a mistake. Nothing ever works out for you. What difference does it make? Anybody ever hear any of those things? Just raise your hand. I see hands going up quickly even. I have too. I told you my story. I'm sure people looked at Jeanette's kids and said, Jeanette ain't even around. She's been gone for 2 days. They're knocking on my door trying to get a piece of bread. They're not going to ever be anything. They're out all times of night. She's 4 years old, playing out 9 o'clock at night. What difference does it make what Jeanette does? They're already right. Those are lies. But there's the truth to counter the lies. You were uniquely created. You are valuable. You have a purpose. And you were not a mistake. In those moments when you feel that way, you have to remind yourself of the truth. And it's a fight. It is a fight. Weak people, lazy people, don't walk out their identity because they're too lazy to put up a fight. They're too lazy to say, no, I am somebody. I will accomplish. I do have value in spite of what I feel. It's so much easier to go at 8 o'clock. Well, I'm just gonna have a bad day. My goodness, can we wait to 8:10? Can we put up a little fight? Are you not worth it? You are. Indeed you are. I say so, and that's the rules. Okay? Another key to unlocking your identity is you have to push past your comfort zone. Push past your comfort zone. There's a story of a man and he's got his son and they're playing Connect Four. You guys are going, what is Connect Four? Does anybody know what Connect Four is? All right, it's a classic. It's the simplest game ever, but it's deep. Well, here's this guy. I heard the story. He's playing with his young son, and they're playing game after game after game, and his son can't win, and the dad won't let him win, and the son is just like, I'm gonna keep going, He's playing. Finally, the father says, listen, it's late, I'm tired. Son, let's go to bed. Now, if he should have let the boy win, I guess. He could have gone to bed. But he just kept playing. And he said, we have to go to bed, I'm tired. And his son said, no, Dad, it's not over until I win. And finally, after many, many games, the son won. And the son said, all right, Dad, I can go to bed now. Because he won. And that has to be your mindset. That even when you get knocked down, even when you don't get the grades you wanted to get, even when the family's acting a fool, even when your siblings are acting a fool, even when you feel insecure, it's not over until I win. I wish that student in Hudson had said that to herself. I wish someone had said to her, it's not over until you win. And that's a decision you have to make. How many of you have ever heard of Harriet Tubman? Harriet Tubman, the Underground Railroad. I have to share this with you just because I'm proud of it. I happen to be a descendant of the family of Harriet Ross Tubman, by the way. And so I am proud of that. Now Harriet Tubman in the Underground Railroad, her story is after she made it to freedom, she would come back, and bring other people to freedom. And she carried a pistol, by the way. Is anybody who decided that they were going to turn back, she pulled that pistol out and said, oh, no, you ain't. Okay? And there were two reasons for that. Number one, because then they would find out the route and that would ruin the Underground Railroad. But number two, I believe she wanted freedom for them more than they realized they wanted it. She's like, you're going to be free whether you want to or not. Because I see something greater for you than you're able to see. Because why? Because you're looking at your current circumstance. You're looking at the fact that this is uncomfortable. You're looking at the fact that this is dangerous. You're living by your emotions. And so I have to push you to go further. And there's a quote attributed to her that says that she could have freed more slaves if she could have convinced them that they were slaves. She would have freed more. In other words, they had bought into this idea that was their identity. This is who I am. I'm a slave, but she knew that was not their true identity. It was just their current reality. She knew that there was something more on the inside that she was destined for, and that's what led her to come back and get more people. And so she went past the comfort zone. Her comfort zone was, I made it to freedom. I'm out. Y'all on your own. But she went back. And she was willing to push them past. She said, I could have convinced them. I could have gotten more to freedom if I could just have convinced them that they were slaves. In other words, that they weren't true. That's not their true identity. But that they were thinking, this is life. This is all I know. This is the way it's supposed to be. This isn't really slavery. This is it. This is life. The idea of something more couldn't even cross their minds. They weren't allowed to read. They weren't allowed to write. They weren't, and they start to feel that I don't deserve that. It's a dream too sweet to come true. There's a poem by Maya Angelou, Still I Rise. And it ends with, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. And what she was saying is that I am everything my ancestors wished that they could be. And as I stood there, trying to get too emotional, but as I stood there many times in my classroom teaching 7th graders, English language arts, I was aware of the fact that I was the dream and the hope of the slave. That I was not only was I able to read and write, but I was teaching others to do the same. That my Aunt Mary, who could hardly read or write, she said she's going to be a teacher. Have to push past your comfort zone, guys. Push past where you don't feel like you can. And grab somebody and bring them with you, like Harriet Tubman did. It's so important. The next key to unlocking your identity is cut off those toxic relationships, those bad relationships, and embrace the healthy ones. Some of us are locked into bad relationships because you just want to be loved. You want to be appreciated. Or you're comfortable there. You know? And you hang with people, some of you are hanging with people you know you should not be hanging with. You don't even need your mama to tell you, you know. Every time I hang out with her, we get in trouble. We have a good time, but we in trouble. You need to cut off some stuff. Unfortunately, some of them are in our family. So we can't really cut them off, but we gotta say, talk to the hand. Because I'm gonna believe for greater. So identify those relationships that are not good for you and be bold enough to make some changes. Be bold. Don't sacrifice yourself. We also need to develop healthy relationships. We need other people. I'll tell you this story. Anybody have family members in the military? Speaking of that, I love our military. If any of you have people who have served or are serving, make sure you thank them. The reason why we can be here is because we have people who are willing to pay that price. And so let me just meddle a little bit. Forgive me. But when it's time to do the Pledge of Allegiance, I just notice certain things. How dare you talk through it, or sit through it, or play on your phone through it, when people are sacrificing, some of them are in your own family, for you. The least you can do is take 10 seconds and stop what you're doing and stand up and honor them. That's the very least you can do. Or go to, thank you. And that's the work. The least you can do. Even now, there are people who are lying there trying to figure out how they're going to survive, and we can't stand up because it's inconvenient. God help us. We don't know inconvenience. I see people, just the other day, I'm getting off track here, but just the other day I was in the store and I ran into someone, he was in uniform, and I said, sir, his back was to me, and I said, sir, and he turned around and I said, thank you for your service. And he said to me, just blew me away, he said, twice he said it, you are worth it. You are worth it. And it just blew me away. He doesn't even know me. He's willing to sacrifice his life and put it on the line. And some of you have loved ones who maybe have passed. My dad was in Vietnam. My uncle was shot in the Korean War, survived. But he said, you're worth it. I'm saying to you, you're worth it. He who doesn't even know me deemed me worth it. I don't really know you, but I deem you're worth it. That's why I'm here. But back to this story. So, develop healthy relationships. Heard this story about these troops. And they're in the middle of battle. They're in the middle of battle and they make it back to safety. They manage to make it back. When they get back, they're like, oh, they're so relieved. And one of them goes, wait a minute, where's Johnny? Johnny's not here. And they say, Johnny's out there. Johnny didn't make it. And he said, we gotta go get Johnny. No, I'm sure Johnny is dead. I'm sure the enemy got him. You can't go back. You're gonna get killed. I'm sure he's dead. And you're gonna die if you go out there. We gotta get him. And he breaks away and he takes off to get Johnny. And when they find him much later, they find him in the dirt. The guy who ran off looking for Johnny, they find him in the dirt. And Johnny is in his arms, dead. And he himself has been mortally wounded and is very close to death. He's holding Johnny. And they look at him and they go, look at you. You fool, we told you not to go. We told you Johnny was dead, and now look, he is dead, and you're close to death yourself. And And this guy, as he holds Johnny, with barely any life left in him, he says, he turns to look at them and they go, "You fool! What? You're dying. Was it worth it? Was it worth it to run back out here?" And he manages to look up at them with, in that weak way, as he's about to die himself, and he said, "When I got here, he was still alive. He had a little life left in him." He said, "But do you know what he said to me when he saw me?" He said, he barely opened his eyes and he said to me, "I knew you'd come. I knew you'd come." And he turned to them and he said, "Yes, it was worth it. It was worth it." And he lost his life that day. But see, Johnny knew that there was somebody who had a relationship with him, who cared enough about him, that he would come hell or high water, no matter what the price or the sacrifice was, he would be there. Those are the kinds of relationships that we foster. I have people here with me today, good friends here with me today, some somewhere in the back, my friend up here, and they're the kinds of people that you want to go to battle with because you know they'll come. You know they'll be there. You know, you always have those friends when you get attitude. You always have the friends that go, "Yeah, girl, you should be upset. I would tell her off too." Because she ain't know, but she look at her. And they egg you on. And we love that because it feeds our emotions. It gives us, "Yeah, you validated. Yeah, I should be upset. You should have cursed Miss So-and-so out because she was trying to embarrass you in front of the class." But then you have that friend that says, "You know what? You're wrong. You're just wrong." Or she's bad for you, or he's bad for you, or get up, pull yourself together, and let's go forward. And I'm talking to high schoolers, so you're not too young to get this message. Those are the kinds of relationships. I knew you would come. That's your identity. People of like mind and like heart. Cut off the toxic relationships. Some of you are gravitating toward bad relationships because you're hurting. And then you hurt other people because that's what hurting people do. Hurting people hurt other people. And for a while it looks great. You look wonderful. You look sweet. Everything looks perfect. But imagine somebody with a cast on their arm. They had a broken arm, right? And then the cast comes off. And everything seems cool again. And then somebody comes along at some point and they bang against that arm and that person screams out. Why'd they scream out? Because it's really not healed yet. It looks pretty. It looks okay. The cast is off, but there's still something not quite healed yet. And some of you are crying out all the time, or you know people who are crying out, or it's your mama crying out, and you can't figure out, or even teachers talking to you today. You got students who are always crying out, and we can't figure out. All I said was good morning. Or what did I do? Why are they acting like this? Because there's something not healed yet. Because they don't quite know who they are yet. Because they don't know that there's hope yet. And I said, if this doesn't relate to you, just keep living. You will need this. You're going to need this message. And you need to tell it to yourself. And you need to surround yourself with people who will remind you of the truth of who you are. And one day, I told you I can find inspiration anywhere. One day it just hit me. I'm like, oh, holy smokes, Trooper. In his mind, he's so much bigger than he actually is. In his mind, he can't fit through the door. He sees himself larger than he really is, or that I see him. And that spoke to me. That's how we need to be, because that's our true identity. You, every one of you, you are so much larger than you realize you are. I'm seeing a little cat. He's seeing a lion. I can't go through that door. I'm too big. And that's how we have to realize, I'm bigger than it seems. I'm bigger than they think I am. I'm bigger than I've been living. I'm bigger than what people have pronounced over my life. There's a plan. There's more. I'm greater. My identity says success. I'm so big. On the inside, there's a lion, there's a tiger, there's something roaring to break out. That's Trooper. I just use that as a reason to share my cat with you. But if you realize that you're so much bigger, as I end here, you realize that you're so much bigger, it'll change how you approach life. It'll change how you approach your family. It'll change how you see individual circumstances. It'll change how you approach your summer vacation. Because lots of folks get in all kind of trouble in the summertime. And they feel, okay, what do I do now? I'm used to having my friends near me. You feel a little out of sorts and, whatever. And some people don't like being home, and then that's, it'll change how you approach your final exams. Some of us are stressed. Some of us don't think it doesn't matter, those lies. It'll change everything when you realize your identity. It's so much larger. And I want to say this as I end for the third time. Speaking of those final exams, yes, when you realize that you can do it. You can do it. It's like, bring it on, baby. I don't know what you're going to have to go through. I'm telling you now, if I come back in a year, or whatever, there are going to be things that you walk through that you didn't anticipate. Life has a way of hitting you, pulling the rug up from under you, but it also has a way of promoting you, has a way of blessing you. It's not all bad. There's so much good. There's so much joy. There's so much. Don't give up. Don't check out. Don't think it's hopeless. Don't think that you don't play a vital part. You do. You already touched me, and I don't even know many of you, but just to see a smile, see an applause. I said something about the military, you guys applauded, that touches my heart. You guys build, you don't even know how valuable you are. But you are. And that's all I want to say. That's really all I want to say. So you do you, all right?
I can't impress upon you enough how wonderful it is for a teacher to see a student just soar. And you are soaring, and you are soaring, and is she great?